What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. Welcome to the afternoon random edition of your latest takeover talk at Manchester United. It's all going off. Not transfer, but takeover chaos. That is what is going on here at United View HQ. That is what is going on out there with the media outlets reporting. They are doing their utmost best. Every single outlet has something to throw into the pile here. And the biggest one of this afternoon has come from David Ornstein. Sheikh Jassim takeover bid chaos as Nasser Al-Khelaifi, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, PSG president, has been in contact and in discussions with the Glazers. I'm just going to hand straight over to Owen so that we can get the consensus and the factual reports word for word of what's happened this afternoon, because everything has happened this afternoon. And we'll go from there. Smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, get involved in the comments. It's moving crazy.
Yes, it indeed is moving very crazy, to say the least. As you mentioned, David Ornstein, we're logging on to Ornhub, but not for really great reasons this afternoon, because it's breaking news. PSG president Nasser Al-Khelaifi has played a significant role in talks over the purchase of Manchester United, fronted by Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani. Al-Khelaifi has been contacted by the Glazers in an attempt to persuade Sheikh Jassim to increase his bid. So Ornstein saying that maybe the Glazers have spoken to him first, directly to him, to say, hey, maybe he can raise his bid just a little bit. However, this has come with, understandably so, a lot of backlash from the Premier League. Ornstein is saying that a number of Premier League clubs fear that Sheikh Jassim may simply just be a face for the Qatari state if he were to become Manchester United's owner, and would want the source of any funds thoroughly investigated. Sheikh Jassim himself reportedly has played no personal role in the negotiations with the Rain Group or the Glazer family for Manchester United, leaving that to legal firm McFarlane's and his financial advisors at the Bank of America. Meanwhile, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Ineos group, their group is still confident on success, but the fifth Qatar offer is said to be significant. Which, again, there is a lot in that there, Flex, isn't there? Really, there's a lot in that. So you've got Nasser Al-Khelaifi reportedly chatting directly to the Glazers. Now, depending on which way actually initiated these talks, I guess, is up for discussion and up for conversation and up for debate. From what I gather, from what Ornstein is saying there, he's suggesting that the Glazers reached out to him, to say, hey, could you just get Sheikh Jassim to put up his bid a little bit? But some would look at it as to say he shouldn't even be involved in the first place, because I thought they're separate individuals. I thought this is meant to be a private individual purchasing Manchester United separate from the Qatari state. Therefore, the Premier League are looking at that to say that seems a little bit murky. But then, of course, that raises the question about other states that also have stakes in Premier League football clubs. In addition to that, the bit at the end there from The Athletic, they're saying, oh, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, they're still confident, but that fifth Qatar offer, it's significant. And Sheikh Jassim, he's never been involved in any of these negotiations, which on the face of it might look, whoa, well, he's not involved in any of it. Maybe he is just a front for the Qatari state. But let's be honest, sometimes in takeovers, they're not. They're just money men. They just say, hey, I've got money. You figure out what to do with it. So that's not.
He didn't even come over, did he? He didn't come over for the talks. You know, Sir Jim was front, sent, shaking Richard Arnold's hand. Sheikh Jassim sent his delegates, so that shows you the sort of and we can't get pictures of him. You don't know. There's no interviews. There's no nothing. He's been in the wings. He's been waiting in the wings. So that
we've used the same picture on all of the thumbnails we've done, because there's like one of him. Okay, so that's literally it. But I guess the key things here, the two things, are the involvement of Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the PSG president. Of course, they are owned by, is it the QSI? I believe it is. You might correct me that in the comments. It's some acronym. And also that this fifth Qatar offer is significant. What are your thoughts on all of it, Flex? Because that's really tip of the iceberg this afternoon too.
It's mental, isn't it? It really is, because okay, look, here's the downside. Here's the downside, yeah? The fact that the president of PSG is now involved, what that does do is fuel the fire for the people in charge and other football clubs and people who make the decisions and fans who don't want Qatar, because there are fans who don't want Qatar. What that does is fuel the initial kind of accusations that this Sheikh Jassim guy is a front. This is state-owned by Qatar. Don't try and dress this up with this 9-2 foundation. Don't try and dress this up with he's a Man United fan, etc., etc. This is a front to be state-owned by Qatar, and actually, they already own PSG. They're trying to get their hands on another, a bigger mammoth football club in Manchester United. This is all spin. This is what this is. So that's the downside to this. That's definitely a downside, because now I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, but you can't hide from the fact, you can't just ignore the fact that, well, hang on a minute, what's the PSG guy got to do with any of this? What's happening here? This is Sheikh Jassim and the 9-2 Foundation here. What on earth is Nasser doing there? What's going on here? So it's going to raise those eyebrows. And to people who always thought that, whether it be media, whether it be people in the Premier League or other clubs, delegates, people who work in football, or fans who have been somewhat cautious or against the Qatari takeover of Manchester United, this gives them that kind of ammunition to start going down that route. See, Premier League, I mean, we've seen it already with some of the things. Other clubs have got together to kind of say, we want thorough checks on where that money's coming from. That seems dodgy to us. No. The police are already on it. Nasir's about, where's this money coming from? Right, everyone stop. Police investigation. We're on it. They're already there. They're outside OWEN's now. They're there. So that's the issue that's the downside of this. That this will perpetuate more. I don't want to say hate. Hate's the wrong word, but more scrutiny. Scrutiny is the word. Yes. Yeah, more scrutiny onto that side of the bid. That's the downside. A positive side, if there is one, is the fact that this is a guy who's done it before, acquired a massive club, has huge experience, and I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility, of course, that I'm not going to say they're somewhat of the same thing, but they're closely linked, or they know each other very well from being from Qatar, being in this sort of this area of football or business, should we say. So for him to lean on someone like him and kind of send him in to say, listen, the Glazers are stalling, and go help me out. Go in there and help co-sign my thing and get it done. Now, I'm not naive. I'm going to be 100% honest here. Yeah. I'm going to be 100% honest here. I do want Qatar. You guys know I want Qatar. But come on. We know what's going on, I think.
Well, that's if to say, Flex, that Sheikh Jassim sent Nasser Al-Khelaifi in. If what Ornstein is saying is accurate, it might be the other way around. I think it was, I could forget in the chat, it might have been Lil Yo-Yo said, if the Glazers did it the other way, then that's not Sheikh Jassim's fault.
If that happens,
you know what I mean? It's an argument to be made. There's an argument to be made. It's somewhat of a smoking gun, because if he's a private individual, why'd you go to him if the money's not all coming from the same pot, which is what people will say. However, it's a bit, I look at it like the Newcastle situation, where there's documentation signed saying that, I think the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia isn't involved in that club. But of course he is. It's the Saudi Public Investment Fund. It's a sovereign wealth fund. The word's sovereign. So of course, it's in there. You can sign papers to say it's not, but it is. Again, like you said, let's not be naive here. And it's a bit like that with the Qatar one, isn't it? Oh yeah, it's private wealth, and he's the chairman of the Qatar Islamic Bank. But let's be honest here. Like everyone knows the situation. So the Premier League clubs can get outraged by that and whatever. I've said it before. In my opinion, Pandora's box was opened a long time ago in the Premier League when it came to that. Yeah. So I look at that, and people, they can complain about it, and they want proof of funding and where the funding's coming from. I think that would largely be settled.
It would increase the scrutiny, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I would think it would be settled the same way as Newcastle's would. Signing documentation, this, that, and the other. I think it would go like that. As far as they're saying, I think if the Glazers did go to Nasser Al-Khelaifi, this was going to be my other point, to say, can you convince him to raise his bid a bit more?
Actually, why
would they do that if they weren't interested in selling to him, or he wasn't the bidder in their mind? You know what I mean? You don't go to someone to say, hey, ask him to put his bid up, unless 100%. You're going, that's the guy. That's the guy I want.
I've completely missed that section there. That was reported, that middle bit, which is the most important bit, actually. I'm completely misunderstanding that bit there, where it says it right there. Obviously, people from the other side would argue, yeah, right. But he does say the president was contacted by the Glazers in an attempt to persuade Sheikh Jassim. So with what David Ornstein's reporting, the Glazers went to him to say, could you get him to up the bid? Because we know that you're tight with him.
And again, the question is, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? I mean,
So
two
actually,
reasons, which again, and it's positive and negative. You say, why would you do that? You would, negative would be you would do that because the money's all coming from the same place, which is against what they're saying. The positive, if you like the Qatari bid, is that they would. Why would you do that? You would go to that person because you think that they're pretty close, and actually you feel like that's the person that I think I can get the most money out of. Therefore, that's the person that I ideally want to sell to as well. So. Depends how you look at it. But like I said, that's arguably the most significant part of all of it is the reason why. Not what's happened, but why has it happened?
And that's the thing that we're not going to know right now. We can only go off the reports. We can only go off what David Ornstein has had here. And it says that also that Sheikh Jassim's camp have strongly denied that he's just the face of the Qatari situation to just front up, us being state-owned. I think it's extremely interesting that wording that David Ornstein's gone with in terms of that actually it's the Glazers who have contacted him. Why exactly? They would only do that. They've got no reason to contact him unless because they want to sell. Really, isn't it? To Sheikh Jassim. Yeah. Surely. Yeah. Because it's to get more insight, to like it says there, get him to increase the bid, etc., etc. They obviously don't feel like they could go to Sheikh Jassim and say that. So they're going to his mate in layman's terms. Someone who knows him really well. Obviously, he's going to be very well acquainted with the Qatari royal family. That's probably going to be no secret. That's not going to be, oh my God, wow, can you believe that? There's nothing fishy going on there. That is what it is. And he hasn't gone to them in an attempt to say, this is why you like to sell Sheikh Jassim. That's not what this is, actually, which actually initially, when I was going through it and sieving through it, I kind of got that vibe. And then obviously when you see Sheikh Jassim himself has played no personal role in negotiations, again, like you said, that's neither here nor there because he's left it to a legal firm, McFarland's, to do that, and his financial advisors at the Bank of America. That's how he conducts his business. I think just because there's one set of business people who do things this way and another set of business people who do things that way, doesn't matter. That's just different processes. That's, he remains fairly anonymous and fairly behind the scenes, So this is a staggering turnaround.
You would think that would be the Qatari, but that would be the 9-2 Foundation's response. If the Premier League or anyone said, why is Al Khalifi speaking to the Glazers? He could just go, they're friends. You know what I mean? They could just do something like that. I mean, unless you can prove that Nasser Al Khalifi is physically a part of the bid, i.e. he's putting money in or he's managing money that is linked to the purchase of Manchester United, then they don't have a lot there, really, you would think. But as I mentioned, I think if you get back into the discussion of why would the Glazers, if it was the Glazers who initiated these talks with the PSG president, why would the Glazers reach out to him? It's because clearly they're leaning to one side, maybe. And again, the way that the report ends, when it says that, Ineos, Jim Ratcliffe, they're still confident, but at the same time they say, but this fifth Qatari bid was significant. What's significant? What do they mean by significant? Do they mean closer? Because if it's closer, if it's closer and maybe close enough, and I don't, as of right now, it must be said, we don't have a timeline on when the Glazers reached out to Nasser Al Khelaïfi or anything like that, because you would think if they reached out, let's say this week, i.e. when the fifth bid went in, then that would suggest that maybe it's a bit close and they're looking for just a little bit more. If they reached out last week or a couple of weeks ago, and this was the trigger for this fifth bid going in, again, it would still imply that they're not a million miles off. But again, it's actually two-pronged, really, isn't it? Because one part, as I mentioned, you go, well, this is going to bring more scrutiny to it. But then you say to yourself, but this was always going to bring scrutiny. I mean, He's, a significant person in Qatar with a lot of money. It's always going to bring scrutiny to it, always.
Always,
But
because of from that part of the world, yeah.
Exactly. It's always going to bring scrutiny to it. But at the same time, if you're a fan of this bid or this possible outcome, I don't know if it's reason to get excited, but it's certainly, as you mentioned, a really significant. It's a significant development, because if the Glazers were interested, they wouldn't reach out to him.
Exactly, and I'd actually go one more than significant. I think for this, if you are in support of Sheikh Jassim's bid, I'd say it's a positive. It is,
yeah,
because I can't see why. And also, like as David Ornstein states, the reason they've done it is to get him to increase his bid. They're just looking. This is just all this is doing is reinstating what we said a couple of days ago. When did I say? I said all they want to do is just get every last bit more. Come on, give us a bit more. Give us a bit more, And that for me is the one. This proves that. This literally proves that they're getting somebody in. They're reaching out to somebody who has an amazing relationship with Sheikh Jassim, and saying, listen, we do want to sell to him. And this is my theory, by the way. I'm not trying to perpetuate this was the conversation because I was there.
Yeah.
This is my notion. We do want to sell to this guy, right? But we need him to put more. Can you sit and speak with him? You own a massive football club. You've seen the benefits. He'll listen to you. It's like a ploy to get into somebody who makes his heart fond, who would listen to. I won't listen to me, so I'll go to someone he will listen to. That's kind of how it feels. And they wouldn't do that if they were just happy with Sir Jim and wanted to just give it to him.
And also, there could be an element of concern from the Glazers' part with, look at this fifth bid. What was the reasons for this fifth bid going in? Some say desperation, others say frustration. Kaveh Solokol said it himself. He's frustrated with this process. Why is it taking so long? This is getting ridiculous. There's the transfer season coming up. I want to own the club by now. I'm your best offer. You know I'm your best offer as well. Let's get this done. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. The Glazers then, call, which I think it has been documented, an advisor, certainly to him. And as you mentioned, an advisor that's also in the world of sport is the president of a major footballing team in Europe, to say to him, but can you just calm him down? Because we want to sell it to him, but we don't want him to walk away. That's what I mean. Are they were going, can you calm him down, and can you just tell him to put a bit more? Obviously we can't say to him that he's the preferred guy, even though in our mind he is. Can you calm him down a little bit and ask him to do a bit more? Why can't you do it? Because we can't. Is it that? Maybe it feels like that.
Yeah.
What happens when you can't talk to him directly? Talk to a middleman.
Talk to a middleman, exactly.
Talk to his mate.
There's a ton of super chats, members chats, and a lot of interaction here going on, guys. So I want to get you guys involved and get your comments out. Brandon, Glory, Man United says, finally here for a live one. Big up UV fam. Depending on where you are, then maybe you keep missing the 9 a.m. ones, or you live in England and just can't bother to wake up, Brandon. Big up to you, though. But welcome to a live.
I feel you.
Yeah, we can't bother to wake up either. I am the truth says, by 4th of July, Liverpool will buy Kim. Screenshot that. You think Liverpool will buy Kim Min-jae? Okay. WJ Barrett says, so Jim Ratcliffe's peeps leaking negative stuff about the PSG dude. This latest bid has them rattled. I'm telling you, Altan's incoming feels different with the eyes emoji. The Frankie boy, Brady says, don't you think it's crazy that so many fans want some silver spoon trust fund kid to take over the club rather than a literal rag to riches mank? Well, that means that you prefer the Jim, the story and bid. Mike says, in Stephen A's voice, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't care. Bring us the Arab money, says Mike. Harold, been a UV member for 2 months, says legally the structure will be separate. Al-Khalafi has always been an advisor to the takeover as the most experienced person in Qatar around football. Exactly, because he was central around the bid as well in Qatar for the World Cup. He was the one doing the press runs with Sky Sports and BBC or whoever else was trying to scrutinize the Qatar World Cup. He was there front and center with his PSG hat on, mate. He was there doing it, saying this is an amazing moment. I'm Qatari. This is great. So we have to also put into context, which is what Owen's saying and what Harold just said there. let's not act like this guy isn't like the main football guy in all of Qatar, as well as he happens to own PSG or be president. Yes. But in terms of dealing with that and given advice to somebody else from Qatar who's going to buy a mammoth football club in Man United, is it that crazy? That's probably why the Glazers have
they're probably like, do you know Sheikh Jassim? Of course I do. Like,
yeah,
you know I do. So, and like I said, and he's probably throughout this whole process, I'm sure before Sheikh Jassim even put in a bid, for Manchester United, why wouldn't you pick up the phone to the PSG president and go, I'm thinking of buying Man United. Shall I do it? Yeah, go for it, mate. This is what you should do. Have you ever dealt with the Glazers before? Actually, you say that. We've had some sort of loose connections before because obviously players have gone back and forth from PSG and United, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we've dealt with them. Again, it's only logical that he would have had those conversations. And again, the Glazers would know that. So the Glazers would reach out. As long as there's no evidence that, again, he is like this smokescreen in a front, then that is a problem. But again, that happened at Newcastle, and I'm sure that legal documentation would be signed to back that up to suggest that they're separate, even though everyone knows they're not.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Sidaf says Liverpool get McAllister for 35 million, but Mount is 70. We are a joke in the transfer market. I mean, that's a whole different situation. We're not on transfers at the minute, Sidaf, but you're right. I agree. Owen Style Advisor has gifted 5.
He always have his mouth open like a fish, like that.
Why does he do that? I mean, you know more wrestling than me. Why does he always look so surprised, Booker T, when he does? Why?
I think he's always just entranced by the five-time WCW champion, Booker T, Houston, Texas' own.
Lost it 4 times, mate.
Actually 6-time champion, but whatever.
Lost it 5 times.
King Booker with the pinky.
What a guy! Only us as a football channel would have Booker T emojis in there.
Yeah.
Ahmed, thank you so much for your contribution. As always, Ahmed, just been insane over the last week. Really have. I've lost for words. I'm still lost for words from the other day, to be honest, Ahmed. Ahmad. Al-Khalifi, he says, Al-Khalifi is very close to the royal family. I don't see any issue there. 2, the Glazers initiated the contact, so that's that. 3, so Jim owns Nice, who can end up in the Champions League by the end of next season. Who owns Nice? Yes, so Jim Ratcliffe. So absolutely no issues from Ahmad. He sees it as it's fine. Winters has been a member for 1 month. Thank you, Winters. Big up to you. Says, now we know that this 5th bid wasn't out of frustration or desperation. They asked for it. This is huge news. Thanks for the stream, guys. That's a really good point, Winters, because when we was looking at that 5th bid that just came out of nowhere, well, that's why, it seems, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden it does marry up. Is there a picture being painted, like what Winters just said, actually, whereby that 5th bid came because they reached out to Nasir. Nasir's like, listen, bro, I spoke to them. They will sell to you, but you need to put some.
Well, this is what I'm saying. And then that's why the timeline's important, because if they reached out to him prior to the 5th bid going in, then obviously you know what the catalyst is. If this is something whereby they reached out to Nasser Al-Khalifi in the last couple of days, then that puts a different context on the 5th bid. That means that the 5th bid maybe was out of frustration. And again, they reached out to him to say, can you calm him down? And 2, can you tell him that he's not far off, sort of situation? But again, that's why the timeline's so important on that. But as we've said earlier on, the fact that the Glazers have reached out anyway, in itself, irrespective of the timeline, is very significant. But it's important to have some context if we can get it.
Yeah, it is, because this does provide some context, and it does. Obviously, you don't want to get 2 + 2 = 6, but like it does provide some form of like logical, breakdown of timeline and chain of events. Of course, none of us are privy to conversations. None of us are in these rooms. None of us are on the other end of these emails and phone calls, etc., etc. But with the information we are getting from big sources, you can paint a vague picture. Do you know what I mean? To say that doesn't sound too far off. If you do hypothesis of this, that doesn't sound too far off, really, because what we do know is if the Glazers didn't want it to go to Sheikh Jassim, he'd be out. There would be no 5th bid, 4th bid. He'd be gone. We know that. And if the Glazers really wanted to go to Sir Jim by now, they would have just given it to him. So clearly, they either haven't made their minds up yet, or they're trying to just keep getting more from Sheikh Jassim, where they're going to go, that's the magic number, we're off.
Here's an interesting one, and maybe I'm a bit out of school for asking this or speculating on this, but where do you think David Ornstein hears that kind of information from? Who do you think lets him know?
Would David Ornstein have links to the Qatari side of things that are really, or would it be someone who's briefed negatively from Sir
That's
Jim's?
what I mean. Because again, it's all of the, who it comes from depends on all of the context on this. Because there's an argument to be made, on the sort of Sir Jim side, or maybe other Premier League clubs. Let's say a smaller Premier League club says to David Ornstein, you do realise that Nasser Al Khelaifi's been talking to the Glazers. That's not right. That's not on. Blah blah blah. And maybe that's how it happens. Or does it come from the Qatari side to say, oh yeah, they're chatting to the Glazers? Like it's not.
Well, Winter says Ornstein has got links everywhere. Guys on fire. To be fair,
does.
And that's what it is. That's, to be fair, that's why you can't really nail it down. Like if it was someone like Fabrizio, you'd say it's probably come from somewhere outside of England, or across Europe somewhere else, or you wouldn't think it was England. If it had come from obviously, or the British-based journalists, your usual candidates, then you would go, they're getting it from sort of Sir Jim or something British-based. But I think with Ornstein, his knowledge is so vast and his links are so vast, and he calls a lot of things where he's kind of upset the apple cart with the whole Romano thing. I know they don't see it as a battle together, but secretly they will. And Ornstein's just shot up this last 18 months to a year. He really has. Before it was just almost here we go. And now it's got to a point where he's beaten Romano to the punch half the time. And all Romano has to do is go as per David Ornstein half the time and do a whole new thing and not just press retweet, because he needs to still get his shine. So I think it'd be really naive to even try and say that, no, it's Ornstein don't know no one out there in Qatar. This is all British. He's just been briefed by the negatives. So I think that's naive.
After the World Cup as well. I mean, I think a lot of people, a lot of journalists out there after the World Cup, again, would have met significant people out there during that period of time, So that's part of it too. So, just carry on reading those super chats, Flex. I think Ben Jacobs has just tweeted.
Yeah, okay. There's quite a few. Pespian has been a member for 2 months. Thank you. Appreciate that. Sahaj says, I would like to respond to the guy who wants the rags to riches owner. The model is unsustainable if you are challenging a state-owned side. At least we deserve this sort of ownership based on past achievements. And Nathaniel says, has been a member for 10 months. Appreciate that, Nathaniel. Says, what did I miss? Nothing? Cool. Happy Friday, gents. Glory, glory, Man United. T. Well says, Flex, this takeover saga is all your fault. T. Well, how is it my fault, bro? How is it how? John says, sports washing sounds like a term made up by conservatives to hide their racism. Arabs take offense by the term. Sports are recession proof, hence why anyone with money would want to invest in sports right now. Tarbo says, just joined. It's all going off, Fleck. It is, Tarbo. If you've just joined, if anyone's just joined, smash a like on the video on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you're new on the way in. Nearly 2,500 of you watching. Just below that, 380 likes. Let's get to that magic 500 number likes and go up from there. Lawrence says, this looks like an Ineos move out of frustration. Well, that's what we just talk about, Lawrence. We don't really know, bro. Like, we don't really know where David Ornstein's got this from. Some people think, like what you're saying, is it a ploy to kind of smear the Qatari campaign, or is it legit from that side of the
Is it just the latest developments? It's just the latest turn in the saga. You know what I mean? There might even be no like politics, or sort of leveraging behind it. I know
what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. I know there's always leveraging in this, but yeah.
Absolutely. And lastly, at the moment, Mickey says, he's been a member for 2 months. Big up to you, Mickey. Says, does this mean that Khelaifi called Sir Jim after Glazers to make him make the 5th bid? Sorry, Sheikh Jassim. To make the 5th bid. Does Sheikh Jassim know he has the Glazers on strings? Why he put the ultimatum? Well, and even the ultimatum is kind of, I mean, we might get onto it in a little bit with stuff that happened earlier on, kind of full of people backtracking saying, well, he said he would be here after yeah. Friday, but he still will, but he's just getting angry, so he said that. Like, it's a bit, do you know what I mean? I don't think that ultimatum was a real ultimatum, Mickey, to be honest with you. So, yeah. What's Ben Jacobs got to say on?
Yes, so Ben Jacobs has just tweeted, and actually it's quite interesting because he's quote tweeted a tweet he did in February, because again, this thing's been going on forever.
Yeah.
But in February, he said that the QSI, who are the owners of PSG, will have no direct involvement as previously reported, but if a bid is submitted, Nasser Al-Khelaifi is expected to be consulted. So that's what he said in February, suggesting QSI not involved, but Nasser Al-Khelaifi will be consulted. He will be an advisor because, again, he's a significant Qatari person that's involved in European football. Now, he's then quote tweeted that, Ben Jacobs, and said, the 9-2 Foundation insists Nasser Al-Khelaifi still has no official role in their bid, following David Ornstein and who's the other journalist that wrote this? It's Matt Slater from The Athletic's excellent exclusive. And indeed it was. Always shout out the journalist. It was an excellent piece of reporting. He continues to say, as reported in February, Al-Khelaifi was consulted ahead of making the first offer. Sources at the time indicated that anyone from Qatar, state-backed or private, would naturally exploit Al-Khelaifi's sports knowledge and get QSI's blessing before bidding due to their role in sport in the region. Those close to Al-Khelaifi indicate the Glazers instigated contact with him, suggesting again they remain determined sellers and that a meeting consisting of what is described as deep talks took place in Europe. Given Ineos remaining cautiously optimistic, the sirens continue to go, Fleck. Sirens in the chat. Given Ineos remain cautiously optimistic and believe they are 1 or 2 weeks away from real progress, 9-2 Foundation have a big choice to make today. On one hand, they have been given encouragement directly from the Glazers, but they have also set a self-imposed deadline. Those close to the selling side are not acting any differently due to the Friday deadline. The process continues as is, so it's up to the 9-2 Foundation if they now feel there is enough encouragement to continue engaging. 9-2 Foundation do remain confident in their bid, but have grown frustrated by the process, and they want to get in urgently if successful due to the window opening soon. This was also why they set today's deadline to try and force the issue. But deadline also provides an exit route on their own terms, so it can be viewed in two ways. Sources refer to it, if no progress, as ceasing talks, but are careful to stress that doesn't automatically mean formally withdrawing any offer. More clarity expected tonight. So obviously, I know that's a lot there and significant, but basically he's essentially saying what we were kind of speculating earlier on, as if to say, well, he's not involved in the bid, but if you're going to bid for a club, a big club, one of the biggest in the world, and particularly a European football club, you're going to contact Nasser Al-Khelaifi, because why wouldn't you? And also, it does suggest with the Glazers initiating contact, which is what Ben Jacobs says.
Contact with him,
instigating contact does suggest they are determined sellers, and this might be a way to sort of offshoot this ultimatum that was placed earlier this week by suggesting, look, I wouldn't put an ultimatum on, don't back out now or anything like that. You know, we can do this, essentially. We can still, don't get too angry, don't get too upset. You're still in the race. You can still win this race sort of situation, which again is very interesting. What say you, Flack?
It's mental. It's mental.
Good analysis.
Me. It's mental. Like, seriously, it really is. It's really, there's a lot going on. I can see why. I can see why some people go, listen, when there's a sale, let me know. I can see why some people say that. But to just decide for what Ben Jacobs is saying, I think that line there is, again, those close to Al-Khelaifi indicate the Glazers instigated contact with him. So we'll take that in isolation. That backs up what Ornstein's saying. I think the part that says sources at the time indicate anyone from Qatar or state or private backed would naturally exploit Al-Khelaifi's sports knowledge and get QSI's blessing before bidding due to their role in sport in the region. That's what we're saying. Let's not act like QSI / Al-Khelaifi is just some any guy / organization in Qatar. They're the main, that in sports, it says, not in football, in sports in the region. So if somebody from the region is going to acquire from Manchester United, that is big flipping news. That is, you know, you're going to touch base with the likes of Al-Khelaifi. You're going to get insight. You're going to get, you know, some encouragement or some advice, should I say, not encouragement, some advice from him. But away from that, it's still the Glazers who have instigated the dialogue between the two. It's still not. It's still not.
Also, as well, Flex. Put it this way: if I decided one day, I tell you what, I'm a really big fan of Marvel films. Yeah, I'm going to set up a Marvel YouTube channel. Of course, I would call you. You've set up a YouTube channel here that's got, over 141,000 subscribers, and I know you, and you're a friend of mine. I'd call you up and go, "Well, how do you think the best way to do this is, mate?" And you'd be like, "Oh, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. Maybe you do that." And that seems entirely natural, doesn't it? Now, obviously, again, the Glazers have instigated contact with Al Khalifi this time around, but initially, of course, he would go to him for advice. Why wouldn't you? I'm not going to talk to him ever. It's naive to think that wouldn't happen, really, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It is. It really is naive to think that wouldn't happen, because especially with football becoming, it's growing in that area. They've just had the World Cup. President of PSG acquired them. How long has he owned them now? Maybe 10 years? I don't know. Something like that.
Gosh. Around, I think it's probably 10 years, maybe a bit longer than that. Something like that.
Maybe a bit longer. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing. I don't see that. Also, what was quite significant, he said, given Ineos remain cautiously optimistic, they believe that they're 1 to 2 weeks away from real progress. So the 9-2 have a big choice to make today. On one hand, they have been given encouragement directly from the Glazers, but also set a self-imposed deadline. So that's what I mean. So about that deadline we imposed the other day.
Maybe we shouldn't have.
Probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And that's where it gets a little bit. But this is where, remember how many times have we said this is just businessmen or business people posturing? That's what this is. This is complete posturing. One person, it's like a game of chess. Press the time, it goes back to your side now. Press it, goes back to mine. Yeah, 100%. Because, all right, well, let me flex my power move. Oh shit! Oh, maybe shouldn't have said that. Right, Ineos going to flex theirs. Oh, Class B shares and this, that, and the other. Oh, back to Sheikh Jassim. Oh, President Al Khalifi is in there. Like, it's just all posturing, and the Glazers are the ones who are in the middle, just trying to get the highest price possible. That's all this is about.
Yeah.
Also,
but I think, by the way, just sorry to cut you, but I think you're right with what Ben Jacobs is essentially saying today. Is kind of what we were just intimating before he tweeted, which is, if you are the 9-2 Foundation, if you are Sheikh Jassim, you probably look at the Glazers reaching out to Nasser Al Khelaïfi as a massive positive. It's contact. It's not direct contact with you, but certainly it's for me, I would view that as an indication that, as he says, they actually, though, they're open. They do want to sell. They're open to selling, or they want my money. They realize, I've been saying this whole time that my offer is the best offer. I can do it tomorrow. It's cash. They're not that dumb. They do realize that is the case. They do realize that, again, I can do it tomorrow. So that's significant.
Yeah, it is. It really is significant, because at the moment we're getting one set of information and we're running with that. And then you're getting these shockwaves of like real solid information from real credible people that I don't want to say wouldn't lie, because this is the media. So they could be ill-informed or they could lie. It's the media. But there's some big statements here that you can't ignore. You can't ignore David Ornstein, of all people, arguably probably the most credible person out there. Really,
and thinking about, actually, just throughout this whole takeover process, he's been not quiet, but he's not been.
He hasn't been the main guy, has he? Yeah,
no, he hasn't been.
He hasn't. He hasn't been a Ben Jacobs or a Mike Keegan.
Mike Keegan. No, he's not been. He's not.
And
been
actually,
that guy.
if you think about this, and this is what happens in the media landscape, when one person goes with something strong, all of a sudden they all start talking. So maybe Ben Jacobs wasn't even planning on saying anything, but all of a sudden he's come strong with this whole thread that he's just done, and he does quite a few threads, doesn't he, Ben Jacobs? He's not afraid to,
and they're really well done. They're really well done.
They are really well done. They really explain. He's really good at reporting the news anyway. Whether you believe him or not or whatever, I think he's a really good journalist. So what you can't ignore is that there's a chain of reaction here. There's a chain of events that spark one to the next to the next.
I'm in the middle of a chain reaction. Upside down. Inside out. I'll go back on mute.
Just don't. Again, just don't. Nobody asked for it. Nobody called for it. Everyone was fine before you did it. but it's just another signal to just don't do it. Everyone's fine without it. They're not. It's fine.
Why can't I sing Diana Ross on a Friday?
Well, it's just, I don't know. You can, just not here.
Not now.
Not now.
Yeah.
Not to these people.
Yeah.
Not to me.
No.
Just to you in your place. Just you do it.
Yeah. I got carried away. I apologize.
Nah, listen, Owen, don't apologize, mate. Express yourself, mate. Music is the healer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One thing about music, when it hits you, feel no pain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So don't worry. You sing along, mate, whenever you want. There's more super chats here. Where are we at? Oh, to name. So Sir Marcus, been a member for 1 month, says this circus has been going on for too long. Yes, it has, Marcus. Yes, it has. 44 Mo is the latest member of the UV Members Club. Thank you, 44 Mo. Tarbo says, I'm at the point where I don't understand what's going on. I just want our club to begin to win again. I just want our club winning again. I love that, Tarbo. I don't understand what's going on. I just want us to win. Agreed. 44 Mo says, been a fan of this channel for the longest and time to join now. Love the content. Thank you, 44 Mo. Appreciate that, man. It's good to have you on aboard, and I'm glad you've been a fan of the channel for a long time as well. EJS says, big up, guys. I want the takeover to be completed either way, just so I stop seeing that one photo of Jassim everywhere. Like Owen was saying, he's so underground. He's so unreachable that there's literally only that one picture. The bill says, if Qatar buy Manchester United, I will be going to Old Trafford after 12 years. I'm desperate for them to buy it, and if they do, then I will see you outside OT. See you there, Nabil. See you there.
Well, I guess this now does raise the question, Flex, because as Ben Jacobs was kind of hinting at, that today, the 92, well, maybe not necessarily today, but the 92 Foundation have a bit of a decision to make. Well, I suppose today, look, it was their self-imposed ultimatum. Now, whilst they're not going to walk away, and that was kind of backtracked, I saw JB Jackson sort of said, well, they're not going to sort of walk away from the table today per se. The offer's going to remain there, but their ultimatum was, if it's not accepted or we don't get a response that we like, we'll disengage. I.e., the offer's always going to be there. We're just not going to talk to you anymore. We're sick of this. Do we hear anything now between now and the end of the day that basically says, actually, they're kind of happy with how things have developed this week? They're not going to disengage. In fact, they're engaging really in this process now, maybe because of the sort of brokering that Al Khalifi's been able to do at behest of the Glazers. What do you expect to happen today now? Do we get more of this, more chaos?
Yeah, they ain't going anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. They're not walking away. No chance. It's posturing. They are not. By the end of today, we're not going to get Sheikh Jassim has ended all interest in Manchester United, and he's gone forever. The only bid remaining on the table is Jim Ratcliffe.
Because if he does that, by the way, if we get thing today going, yeah, he's walked away, it's over, then Sir Jim Ratcliffe's won. He's the only runner left.
Or the Glazers then stall again and say, so about all those hedge funds and minority strategic investments. I can't see it, but you never know.
Never a real consideration. Yeah, I really don't. You talk about playing chess and pressing the timer and using your pawns and your kings and your queens and all that kind of stuff and your knights. That was one of them for me.
They can't stay now, especially after going this deep into a sale process. They can't just go, yeah, we did explore it actually, but now we're just going to stay.
Things are going to stay as is.
Yeah,
things will not. One thing's for certain, coming out of this process, things will not be exactly the same as they are today or as they have been this season.
No,
there is going to be some form. There will be some form of executive change at this club this summer. It depends on how much and what and who ultimately. Whether, like you said, it's those minority people, which I think are so unlikely at this point. Whether it's they go completely and Sheikh Jassim buys 100% of Manchester, 100% of Manchester United, or we then get into the territory of 51%, 69%, whatever it may be, Class B shares. There were rumblings today that even the minority stakeholders in Manchester United, they were upset about the possibility of an Ineos bid because the suggestion is that, hey, why are they just buying the Glazers shares? Why can't we sell them our shares? Are we not going to be involved in this takeover process? Are we not going to be able to sort of vote on this? Not that we have majority voting power because we don't, but is that legal? And even that could be perceived possibly as pressure from those within, well, actual shareholders within the club to say, we've got our favoured bid as well. We know who we want you to sell to. And also, again, if I'm a shareholder, a minority one at that, but if I'm a shareholder at United and I know for a fact some guy's going to come in and buy my shares, what do you invest in companies to do? To make money. And that's a way of making money. Someone buying my shares from me. So maybe that pressure counts as well. There has been, and I know it's a lot of noise, and it's always a lot of noise, and it's frustrating. Oh my goodness me, it's frustrating. every day, every minute, back and forth, contradictory stuff. But the fact that there's been so much today already, I don't want to sound like that guy last year with Barcelona. Things are happening. Are things happening, Fleck?
No. Remember when I said to you this morning,
yeah.
Do you feel like it's coming to a close? And you said, well, I think you said, I don't know, Flex. I said, I don't know. My question to you is, now you're seeing this development, has that changed again at all? Or is it still the same? I don't know.
I don't know.
If it is or not.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I can't say that. What I think I can say is, like I said, things are happening. There's certainly developments.
Say that.
And people are certainly getting agitated, frustrated, desperate, optimistic, lots of different, emotions across the spectrum I think people are having. But it does feel like we're heading into some sort of an endgame territory. And the issue is when we're heading to endgame territory, people start doing really weird stuff and people start throwing Hail Marys and other people start getting involved. And it does feel like the more you read that, the Glazers are maybe desperate, but they realize we are dragging this out quite long. Like we can maybe only get one more bid out of Sheikh Jassim. I mean, we maybe can get one more out of him. That's about it. Apart from that, they run the risk of really pissing them off, which is maybe why they reached out to Al-Khalifi going, oh, we're sorry.
Yeah.
Please.
That's what I mean, to calm it down. Because I thought, shit, we might lose him here and we can't afford that. That is such a strong line that it's actually the Glazers who instigated it. That is so significant that. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What other reason would it be? What other reason would it be?
Yeah.
There's no other reason. There's no other reason.
And the only sort of counter response from Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos is, we're still confident. We think in a couple of weeks' time, we're still confident.
And this is what's crazy about the bluff from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, in my opinion, the bluff. It's not about we're just confident with our bid. It's we can't go no higher, mate.
Yeah.
Like not once has that side of the bid, changed their position in terms of offering more money to entice the Glazers into getting it done quicker because Sheikh Jassim might keep bidding.
Yeah, the last
I feel like they've maxed them out.
Last bid was just a better offer in terms of valuation, i.e. more for less. Because initially it was for 69, then it came into, maybe 51 to rising to eventually 69 sort of thing. So the last time, technically that counts as an improved bid, but I don't know if financially it was in terms of we're offering more money. I don't know. I think the money might have stayed relatively the same.
Exactly, which is when we started to actually turn the corner a bit and look at Sir Jim and say, well, hang on a minute, Sir Jim's getting his pants pulled down actually, because now for the same amount of money, he's not able to give more money, or it would appear he's not so far anyway. I'm not saying he's broke and he can't do this and he can't. I'm just saying, let's just stick to the facts, yeah? It would appear that he can't go any higher, or let's just say he hasn't gone any higher, monetary value, but he's accepted or proposed that he'll take less share for the same amount of money, which essentially means you're paying more. It means you're paying more for less, which is worse. So it got to a point where we're like, well, at what point does Sir Jim go, I can't keep getting like 51 is the smallest / biggest I can get because I want majority of the club. So I need at least just over 50%. So I wanted a little bit more for the money I was giving you, but I guess I'm just going to have to accept 51 then. Well, he's getting his pants pulled down. Really? Glazers are taking the piss out of him.
Yeah,
and they get to stay. And as soon as he buys the club, because he hasn't spoken about new stadium and training complex and debt and all that, none of that was mentioned. It was just put the M back in Manchester, put the Manchester back in United. That's all he was on. Yeah. He then has to acquire the club and spend the next 2 to 3 years working on an exit strategy to actually buy them out.
And let's face it,
him loads.
Maybe I would consider this probably the most likely reason behind this. you could argue, well, why hasn't he spoken about the training ground? Why hasn't he spoken about the stadium? It's because he realizes he maybe can't. He's like, I can't promise that because I don't know.
So let me not get, like, if I do get this club, I don't want to be held to that. Like, if he gets the club, everyone's going to ask it anyway. What's going on here? When are you going to talk about that? What's going on?
Yeah.
But the longer that he doesn't say it during this process means that people make their own minds up anyway and say, this guy didn't even mention anything about that. He thought he could win the fans over by making the club more British. That's essentially what that's his play. Put the Manchester back in Man United.
And also his play was, look, anyone's better than the Glazers, right? And I know the Glazers are still here, but I'm in control. I've got majority control. They might still be here, or initially he was going to buy them out, in fairness, the 69%, so they would have been gone, but the sirens keep going.
Yeah, I'll wait for you to finish because you was in the middle of a point there before I get to this.
I forgot it as well. That was loud.
Oh, God. I'll give you a chance to remember while I read these out.
Yeah.
Because VK has gifted not 5, but 10 United View memberships. Big up to VK. And also there was another gifting of memberships as well. And that is by Owen's Style Advisor. Has gifted 5 United View membership.
Big up my Style Advisor. There's a conspiracy going around that me and the Style Advisor are the same person. I can categorically say we are not, genuinely. If you see the setup I have in front of me, I have enough on my hands rather than gifting memberships in the future. My Style Advisor, it's true. I do think that maybe we need to have a meeting with my Style Advisor because the style really isn't styling at this point. Kind of wear the same
It's simple.
clothes most days.
It's simple and effective.
Yeah. Exactly.
Harold says, "What is clear is that the Glazers have replied to Sheikh Jassim. That is clear." Yeah. Ray Carl Brown says, "Sir Jim knows he never win. Sir Jim knows he'll never win. That's why he done the deal, and I blame him why we're at this stage." That message was deleted by one of the mods, so it must have been something not great. Ahmad says, "I've said it before. Glazers are just using Sir Jim Ratcliffe as a tool to squeeze as much money as they can from Sheikh Jassim. Smart or greedy, but it's working." When someone says it like that, and like what we've been talking about, that's the feel I get.
That's always been my theory as well.
Yeah,
that he's been,
it all adds up to that.
Yeah.
Like what KG said about the guy who can't get the girl, and they're just keeping him on blast just in case, that's the backup option.
Yeah, and also as well, let's think of this from Ineos's point of view and Sir Jim Ratcliffe's point of view. When you're hearing this kind of stuff today, that the Glazers have been talking directly and they've reached out, they've instigated contact with Nasser Al-Khelaifi, what must you think? You must think, wait a minute, I'm having all these talks with the Rain Group, and we're still confident in a couple of weeks' time we're going to win this thing. Why is he talking to him? I understand it's an ongoing process. I understand, you have to talk to the other parties, and I understand that, they're not going to be nice to us. It's a bidding war at the end of the day. But still, if you're hearing these things from the Rain Group going, okay, and this thing, and it's feeling close. Yeah, it's getting close. We're getting closer to this, aren't we? And then the report comes out today. Oh, yeah, they're talking to the PSG president. Surely you would think, like, okay, what's going on here? Am I being taken the mick out of? Am I being used 100%. Here?
In more ways than one. By having to pay more for less of the club, and then by being kept on a shoestring or hanging on by a thread, while, like you just explained, it is going on the other side, talking to big major players in this thing. Major. Or the Glazers could say, listen, Sir Jim, we never promised you anything. This is a bidding war. We'll talk to you. We'll talk to them. We didn't promise you anything. And that as well.
And also they sort of manipulated Ineos's bids previously to get more bids out of Sheikh Jassim, putting out there that he's the front runner, and then wouldn't you know it, a fourth bid comes in. There's an argument to be made. Maybe this is just the exact same thing, but on the opposite side. You do realize we're talking to the PSG president, and then Jim Ratcliffe goes, maybe I've got to pay a bit more for that 51%. My bid values United at £6 billion, which is what they want, but it's still not £6 billion. Maybe I've got to pay a little bit more for that same small amount. Like I said, it's a bidding war at the end of the day.
It is. Morton says, thoughts on the Brinks 2009 tweets, New York Stock Exchange Insider. I haven't seen that. Owen, have you?
I haven't, but I can have a look.
Yeah, Brinks 2009 tweets, New York Stock Exchange Insider. We'll have a look and see what that is. Lux Hill says, Eric Ten Hag on Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Rich is not rich enough. Yeah. And Owen Style Advisor says, with that beard, my work is coming along nicely. Yeah, good beard. And Lil Yo-Yo says, Mr. Fleck, Your advisor is asking you to up the bid. Will you? No, I won't, because I've never made a bid so far.
Yeah, basically, I do know what they're talking about here. So we was doing the rounds yesterday. I did see it on social media, and I think it's doing the rounds again today, which is it's like a screenshot of the sort of, if you work on Wall Street or wherever, you're part of these sort of financial advisors, you get these sort of trading papers, don't you, of like hot tips. This is sort of insider information as to what's going on Wall Street. And essentially it was saying that the Rain Group had advised the Glazers to accept Sheikh Jassim's latest offer and all that kind of stuff. But look, it's unsubstantiated. It's social media. It's a screenshot or a picture of someone's computer screen. So it's not David Ornstein tweeting. You know, it's not I think there's a big difference in the reliability of that one of Ornstein and a picture of someone's sort of computer screen that says takeover targets. But look, hey, you never know. Leaks happen in funny ways.
Yeah. And VK says, wait for Monday when the New York Stock Exchange opens for the update. It'd be interesting to see if that brings any more update with anything, any developments. Wow.
Prediction finally, Flex, before we wrap things up, prediction for later today. Do we get anything else today, do you think? Do we get any kind of updates? And if we don't, what do you think the weekend has ahead for us?
More of the same. More of the same. I think that what will happen by tonight will just be a reassurance that Sheikh Jassim hasn't gone anywhere. Sheikh Jassim has not walked away his final. Because remember, even though the news was that he'll walk away, it was still that his bid remains live, though, in case they go, all right, cool.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm taking the offer away with me and you can't call me, I'm out of the race. It's, right, I'm not talking to you right now, but the money's there. If you want it, ring me. It's more that. So I think we'll get maybe a confirmation that Sheikh Jassim hasn't gone anywhere because his deadline was today and he's still going to be here. He is not going anywhere. What else do I think would happen? I don't think that. And then actually, to be honest, I don't know. Just quickly, anything can actually happen, because if you said to me this morning, when you did say, Fleck, what do you think? I didn't turn around and say to you, well, I reckon Ornstein's probably going to drop the bomb that, the PSG president's been involved. And actually, the Glazers have actually called him. So, yeah, I'll wait for that around 3:00 today. So that shows that anything can happen. Anything.
Yeah, anything can happen. My prediction is largely the same. I do think we'll get some kind of update later on today, I think, from someone, because I think, like you said, when Ornstein, who really hasn't been covering this as extensively as everyone else, has something big like this, all the other journalists they pick up the phone to their sources. Is that true? And what have you heard? And there'll be an enhanced version of this, I think, by the end of today. But I don't expect he didn't hear anything, so he's disengaged, he's walked away. I expect, to be honest, probably more uncertainty. But I think if you are a fan, or your preference rather is the Qatar bid, I think that, as we mentioned, whilst it could increase scrutiny, these developments this afternoon into the evening, it could and probably should view it as a positive, I would think.
Yes, and towards the end of the show, Santiago has come through. I haven't seen Santiago for a little minute, but I've been a long time member of the United View, 11 months. Stock skyrocketed in November when the news they might sell, but it's gone down steadily as people lose faith in the Glazers to sell. The time is now. Great closing statement, that Santiago. Believe. Guys, this has been fantastic. What I do want to say is it's been great being able to be live with you guys so you guys can have your say. Obviously, I know depending on what we had going on, etc., we've all got lives to live. You know, sometimes you have got to do pre-records in these situations, but it's been great that we could just go live straight away, get you guys involved, get you having the chance to get your super chats in, get your comments in, get your membership chats in. And you guys can all converse together as well instead of just like a quick pre-record. It's really good. That I'm really happy that we've been able to do that. That's just a great,
if I could just expand on that as well. Like, obviously, we've seen the last few days, loads of people really getting involved in a lot of discussion and real good discussion as well. Not ranting and raving, people having opinions, going back and forth, going, well, maybe I don't agree with that, but I can agree with you on that kind of stuff. The community at the moment, I don't know about you, Flex, is really communitying. You can feel it, can't you?
And it's times like this when you see it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it really is appreciated. Like, you can feel it. And it's really exciting, really
Yeah.
exciting. Amid all the
Yeah.
chaos, there's certainly a lot of excitement involved in all
Exactly. And, to you guys, you guys know how hard we work to bring you this content. There could be days where we can't go live and we have to do a pre-record instead. We'll always try and get the news to you. But just in these last few days, it's been really good. It's been really good to see, the community in full effect on these live streams, and we're going to keep it up. So yeah, guys, I am going to say we'll see you again tomorrow morning, but we'll see you when we see you. We'll see you when something happens, because of the way it is now, we just don't know. You just don't know. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We got over 500 likes. We've got 666, a little bit more than that, likes. But yeah, thank you guys, and we'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care. Peace.